Hey everyone, Shine here. Um, Today is not going to be anything too complicated. It's just going to be a basic story time about my actual IRL life. So, I want to state right now, everybody, the story I'm about to tell actually revolves around an IRL situation that, well, not even a situation, happened about an IRL event that happened years and years ago, back when I was a child. Way before I started college, way before I started this YouTube channel, so many years ago, back when I was not even around the age of 12 yet. So I just want to get into it right now because I had a dream about this friend that I used to really care about, and as I said before, a few years ago, had a crush on. And I fear that if I don't tell this story, I might forget it. So I want to explain this story right here and now. I was originally going to make a gacha version of it, but then I realized it would take too long. So I'm just making a voiceover. I hope that's okay. Right, where do I begin? You know what? I'll start off from the very beginning, where all stories should start off from. I was about around the age of 7 years old, and I had recently just joined a new crèche because my parents always told me, "Oh, we're too busy to take care of you and help you with your homework." And I eventually went to this new crèche called, actually, I'm not gonna say what it's called, just to keep my IRL privacy a little bit intact. But after a few months of going to that crèche, I realized I wasn't really making any friends. I realized that the only friends I had were very little, and quite frankly, not enough for someone at my age. This went on for several months. I was just coming up to, I believe, the age of 8 years old. And I had actually met someone who, quite frankly, changed my view on life forever. For now, I guess let's just call her Angel, because I don't want to say her real name and get anything in trouble. Angel and I met when I was around the age of 8 years old, and I believe she was turning 8 as well. I didn't really, as I said before, I didn't really have a lot of friends, and I didn't really know how to interact with people at this time. So I quite literally just blanked out on what to do. Because at this time, when I was actually going to the same crush as her, I was quite silent and didn't really make much friends. That was until she came over to me, and we eventually started chatting. I was still keeping my distance, being very silent, because, well, I didn't really know how to respond to this new person in my life. But as time went on, and when the years or the months started turning into years, and the years turned into, well, more years, I suppose I can say, I actually realized that I was getting very close with her. And I'm not gonna lie, I know that I was just being a kid thinking this, and I was just being a little stupid. But I actually felt like Angel and I actually had some sort of connection. Fun fact, Angel was actually the nickname that I gave her during this time in crèche. And she actually told me her name. And honestly, it was one of the sweetest names I had ever heard in my entire life, even now. As the few months passed by, Angel and I actually got very close. We started reading Doctor Who comic books together. We read Justice League comic books together. It was a lot, and it was amazing. The time that I spent with her cannot be replaced by anything. She is absolutely one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. And I've known her for so long now because it's coming up to my 20th birthday. But I'll get into that on another video. During the time that Angel and I actually spent together was absolutely amazing. And I loved hanging out with her and spending time with her. We had so much to talk about, yet so little time. Because I didn't notice how long the time had flown by. From what felt like only a few months had actually turned into years. And it was about time, even though we were, I think, close to the same age by that time. It was time for her to leave. My heart sank into the pits of my stomach. And as soon as she told everybody the news, I remember this part clear as day. I got a severe flashback of everything that we had been through. The video games that we played on my parents' iPad during sleepovers. The comic books that I read with her. The movies that we used to watch when the crèche wanted a break, and we all just gave the crèche employees a little bit of time off just to relax. Because let's be honest, we were all kids at this time, so yeah, it was the crèche minders and members were going to be quite tired looking after so many kids. But as soon as I heard that she was leaving, my whole world fell apart. The one true friend I had actually made, the one true first friend I ever made, was leaving. After what felt like only a few months, but truly had turned into years. And it absolutely crushed me. Little did I know, however, only finding this out a few months ago, which actually inspired me to make this video, but I was too shy to. Something amazing actually happened. A few months ago, I actually figured out that Angel and I were actually neighbors. And I was absolutely overjoyed. I started thinking that we would be able to hang out more and more together, and we would be able to have more sleepovers, like I mentioned earlier. But as time went on, and as soon as I realized what was happening, I realized my schoolwork and everything else in my life was catching up to me. And I realized that I barely had enough time to see her. Every single time I walked past her house, it was like reminding myself of the pain of losing her all over again. I kept thinking to myself, and I still do think to myself to this day, things will be different. I'll actually be able to see her face again. The months went on, and then the months turned into years. and so on and so forth. I only see Angel on rare occasions now. A part of me, a deep, dark part of me, wants me to start believing that we were never friends, that we never really had anything special. But a few weeks ago, when I was walking home from college, because again, I'm nearly 20 years old now, when I walked home from college, there she was. I actually saw her again. Throughout the few times that I was actually able to see her when I was growing up, I actually saw her, and I remembered her face instantly. My heart quite literally sprung out of my chest, and I wanted to be so ecstatic and say hi and talk forever. We struck up a pretty good conversation, too. And something changed in me. I felt so happy and so ecstatic that I actually got to see her again. It quite literally brought, I'm not joking when I say this, it actually brought tears to my eyes. The moment she left and I was walking away, I smiled and began to cry because I was actually so happy that I got to see her again. My angel. After so many years apart, I actually got to see her again. And it was absolutely wonderful. And I hope I get to see her again. Because she meant everything to me. And she still does mean everything to me. I care about her more than I ever could for anybody. The first friend I ever made. The person who at one point felt so far away. The point that I thought we weren't friends anymore. Then to that one moment in time where I saw her and struck up the most wonderful conversation, I knew that we were still friends, and that was never gonna change. Because our friendship is forever. No matter if we see each other or if we don't, our friendship is forever. And even as I'm turning 20 years old, I will still remember her face. Because she means that much to me. And she always will.